In 88 BC, something unthinkable happened. A Roman general named Lucius Cornelius Sulla did what no commander had ever dared before. He marched 6 legions on Rome itself, crossing the sacred boundary of the city with armed troops. This wasn't an invasion by barbarians. This was Rome's own army, turned against the Republic, and it would change everything. The crisis began when Sulla was given command of a lucrative war against King Mithridates in the east. But his rival, the legendary general Gaius Marius, wanted that command for himself. Using political manipulation, Marius had the order transferred to him through the popular assemblies. Sulla, camped with his legions in southern Italy, faced a choice: accept humiliation or do the unthinkable. He chose violence. But here's what made it possible. When Sulla told his troops about losing the Eastern Command, they realized something terrifying. If Marius took over, he'd recruit his own army. Sulla's soldiers, mostly landless men desperate for plunder and retirement land, would lose everything. Their loyalty wasn't to Rome anymore. It was to their general, the man who promised them wealth. When the Senate sent envoys asking why he was marching on Rome, Sulla's response was chilling. He said he was freeing the city from tyrants. His own troops pelted with stones by Roman citizens, Sulla took the city by force, declared his enemies outlaws, and had them hunted down. Marius barely escaped to Africa. Sulla installed new consuls and left for his war in the east. But the damage was done. While Sulla fought Mithridates, Marius returned with his own army in 87 BC. The siege of Rome that followed was brutal. When Marius's forces broke through, they massacred Sulla's supporters in the streets. Senators were executed without trial. The Republic was eating itself alive. In 83 BC, Sulla returned to Italy. Young commanders like Crassus and a 23-year-old Pompey who raised 3 legions from his father's veterans flocked to his banner. The final battle came in 82 BC at the Colline Gate just outside Rome. 70,000 Samnites and Lucanians, allied with Sulla's enemies, clashed with his legions in desperate combat. Sulla won. The next day, he had 4,000 prisoners butchered within earshot of the Senate. Then came the proscriptions. Sulla posted lists in the forum, 80 names at first, then hundreds more. Anyone on the list was declared an enemy of the state. Their property was confiscated and they could be killed on sight with a reward for the killer. Estimates suggest 9,000 people died, including 90 senators and 20,600 wealthy equestrians. Rome's streets ran with the blood of its own citizens. Sulla declared himself dictator with no time limit, holding absolute power. Ironically, he tried to prevent future generals from doing exactly what he'd done, expanding treason laws and restricting provincial commands. But the precedent was set. The Republic's most sacred principle, that armies defended the state rather than threatened it, was shattered forever. When Sulla finally resigned in 79 BC and died the following year, he left behind a republic that would never recover. Julius Caesar, nearly proscribed as a young man, watched and learned. Pompey learned. Crassus learned. They all saw the same truth. In Rome, real power didn't come from the Senate anymore. It came from the loyalty of legions, and that loyalty could be bought. Sulla's march proved that any general with an army and ambition could overthrow the government. Within decades, Caesar would cross the Rubicon. Civil wars would consume Rome. And the Republic Sulla claimed to save would become the empire he made inevitable. Want to dive deeper into Rome's most brutal power struggles? Visit 1703media.com.